Hi, I just wanted to do a quick video on my comparison of my raw DNA uploaded to MyHeritageDNA and to DNA Land versus my AncestryDNA results. I'm going to try to insert clips of screenshots of everything, so please bear with me. Let's see here. Okay, so in my previous video I already stated my AncestryDNA results. It broke down to 57% African, 2% Central Asian, and 41% Europe. Of the 57% African, it breaks down to 16% Benin Togo, 13% Senegal, 10% Cameroon Congo, 9% Nigeria, 3% Ivory Coast Ghana, 2% South Central Hunter Gatherers, 2% North Africa, and less than 1% each of Africa Southeastern Bantu and Mali. The European breaks down to 14% Iberian Peninsula, which is Portugal, Spain, 10% Ireland, 9% Great Britain, 4% West Europe, which is essentially Germany for me, 2% Finland/Northwest Russia, and 2% Scandinavia. So going to MyHeritageDNA first, it breaks it down to 55.6% African instead of 57% African, and then that breaks down to 50.5% West Africa, with 34.5% being Nigeria, and 16% just being broadly West African. When I see the difference in that versus the AncestryDNA, I just kind of attribute that to the fact that they don't have as many regions as AncestryDNA, so perhaps the Benin Togo and the other regions are going into that Nigerian category to make up for the discrepancy of Nigeria only making up 9% of my AncestryDNA results, whereas this makes up 34.5%. So 5.1% was East African, and that was Kenya. That did not show up on the AncestryDNA results. I don't really know what would be considered the East African category other than the Africa Southeastern Bantu, which I received less than 1% of. It states that there was 0% Central Africa and 0% North Africa. I did consider Cameroon Congo to be Central Africa, so that was a little bit surprising to see 0% Central Africa, but perhaps they define Central Africa a little differently than I do. North Africa was 0%, which is no huge surprise since that was a low confidence region for me on AncestryDNA. The 42.5% European breaks down to 42.5% North and West Europe. It states that there's 0% English, 0% Finnish, 0% Irish, Scottish, and Welsh, and 0% Scandinavian. I don't find that to be true, because then the North and West European would basically just break down to Germany and France, which I do know that I might have both. I do know I have German for sure, and I may have some kind of French, but not 42.5%. I believe, based on my family history and my family tree and what I know, that I would be mainly English and Irish and perhaps Scottish. It states 0% East Europe, which includes Baltic, Balkan, and East European, 0% Ashkenazi Jewish, which I pretty much know to be true, and 0% South Europe, which is Greek, Iberian, Italian, and Sardinian. So the AncestryDNA test stated that I was 14% Iberian, which made up my highest percentage in Europe. But here, please excuse that plane, it states 0%, so that's a little bit weird because it wasn't a low confidence region in AncestryDNA. I'm so sorry about that noise. Yeah, so overall, the European section broke down to 42.5% versus the 41% of Ancestry DNA, which is still very, very close. So, not too bad. The Asian breaks down to 1% Nepali and 0% Central Asian. So I just think that's a matter of defining definitions of Central Asia differently. And then it breaks down to 0.9% Middle East. Now, the one I found to be the least accurate, in my opinion, was DNA Land. A lot of people seem to really put a lot of confidence within the DNA Land results, but mine just seemed to be a little too far-fetched. It broke me down to 50% African and 49% West Eurasian. Of the 50% African, it goes to 41% West African, which opens up to 22% Lower Niger Valley and 19% Senegal River Valley. The Lower Niger Valley is essentially Nigeria, so once again, the bigger Nigerian percentage probably is accounted for by adding other smaller regions that were in the Ancestry DNA test. The Senegal breaks down to 19%, whereas it was 13% in Ancestry DNA. That's not too far. And then it breaks down to 9.2% East African. Once again, it's bringing up the Kenyan aspect, which did not show on the Ancestry DNA results. Sorry about that rainbow coming across my forehead. So both of the other tests brought up East African, which makes me believe that it probably is there. But to be 9.2% East African on this test, it seems to be a little bit inflated. The West Eurasian breaks down to 26% Northwest European, which is Scottish, Great Britain, Iceland, Norway. So I could see the English and the Scottish being there. Maybe they include the Irish within that, so that doesn't seem crazy. But then it breaks down to 8.5% North Slavic, 6.3% Sardinian, which is essentially basically the region of Italy. The Slavic was Belarus, Estonia, Lithuania, basically Eastern European, which the MyHeritage test said 0% of, and AncestryDNA didn't say anything about any of that. 6.3 Sardinian that I just mentioned, I would think that would show up as Italy/Greece in the AncestryDNA test, but it did not. And the MyHeritage test said 0% Sardinian, 0% Iberian, all of that. 2.3% Indus Valley, which is essentially Pakistan, which could be the Central Asian aspect of this. And then 2% Ashkenazi Jewish, which showed up as 0% both on AncestryDNA and MyHeritage DNA. 2% Balkan showed up as 0% on MyHeritage and is showing up as 2% here. 1.4% ambiguous West Eurasian. And then there's just a general 1.2% ambiguous, which they did not allocate to neither Africa nor Eurasia. That alone adds up to 100.2%, which doesn't seem to jive well. The fact that it's only 50% African versus 49% Eurasian seems to me that the African is too low. And then the emphasis on Slavic, Sardinia, the Ashkenazi Jewish, and the Balkan, that doesn't seem to be too accurate, and I'm not confident in those results. So in all, I found that the DNA land results came off the least accurate to me. MyHeritage seems kind of close enough to the Ancestry DNA for me to pay attention to the results. And I also did upload the GED match, and the populations that I was found to be most closely related to was first Nigerian Fulani tribe, then Dominicans from the Dominican Republic, and then Ethiopian tribes. Now, I know I'm not Ethiopian, I know I'm not Dominican, so I would embrace the Fulani more, of course, because I'm not from any of those other nationalities or ethnic groups. It just so happens that I guess DNA-wise we're closely matched. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you know anything about the accuracy of any of these other tests, please let me know. I was surprised by how many people really like DNA Land based on what it showed me about my heritage that I didn't really believe. So anyways, thank you for watching.